think for a moment of what it feels like to be happy. Just what does that feel like? It feels really good, right? That's one of the biggest roadblocks that people have. They don't deserve that they get to be happy. They've been told their whole life that life is hard. Life is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple and it doesn't have to be hard. Look, I- I'm a, I was molested when I was a teenager, young teenager. I moved out of the house when I was a teenager. I was emotionally abused. I had a violent stepfather who used to beat me on a regular basis. I had another stepfather who he was a psychiatric social worker and he used to just mess with my brain. Whoa. So I wanted to be happy and I moved out. I was 14 or 15 years old. And I thankfully got to move in with my incredible sister. And I moved into an environment where she was suffering through an alcoholic husband. But I was there and I loved being there. And my sister Nita taught me so much, like so much. You know, I got mad at her when she was teaching me, but she told me how important it was to take care of your finances, you know, how to be an adult. She taught me that. And I'll never forget that. But the one thing that I've always strived to be, I think people settle in their life, is I deserve to be happy. And those watching deserve to be happy. A lot of people are in crazy relationships, crazy work, and they think that's their life. And you know, when one door closes, another door opens. And unfortunately, another door doesn't open until that other door closes.
What is going on, EQ gangsters? I am super duper excited for the guest I have on today. We are literally like twins, man. Like if you guys could, well, if you watch on our YouTube channel, EQ Gangster, you will see minus, I've got a little bit more facial hair, maybe a couple more tattoos, but otherwise we have mutually shared ADD, ADHD. We're both bald, tattooed, super high energy. This guy is the real deal, Holyfield, the bee's knees. Let me share his intro here. Rob Actis is the author of the #1 best-selling book, The Law of Action. A lifelong go-getter, action taker, and serial entrepreneur, Rob used the law of action to achieve his lifelong dream of speaking on TV, radio, becoming a successful audiobook narrator of over 25 titles on Audible. He's also 33. How much?
33.
33. That was old news, man. Old news. He's the podcast host of Living the Law of Action show. He just had me on a show last week. It was instant bromance. We were eating potato chips, drinking some protein powder, and absolutely amazing guy. Super excited to introduce you all to him. So Big Rob, without further ado, man, tell us about yourself, bro.
I'm just humbled to be here, my brother. I'm part of the mafia, man. I love the gangster. So I just saw the movie Office Space the other night, and I was like, "Have you seen that movie?" I want to be a gangster. And oh my, it's so funny. They play that song, "I Want to Be a Gangster." They're these guys that work in an office and they don't like the computer, so they're beating up the computer. And so being part of the gangsters,
That's great. That's great. That's right. And so let me mention that point. So for those y'all that are new to my world here, so you can check us out on eqgangster.com. And if you want to be a part of a safe, supportive, fun, growing community, all trying to develop their emotional fitness program, you can go to eqgangster.com/mafia. Okay, so Rob, tell us your story, man. How did you get to the superstar you are today? What was your journey like? Tell us your story.
Well, we can go way back.
Way back, further than your hairline, bro.
Exactly. Well, I used to have a ton of hair. Like all the stuff that's on your beard, I used to have like a freaking afro, like a lot of hair.
That's awesome.
But I did notice, I look at the camera. So, speaking of emotional, you got to take care of yourself. So I'm all about self-care. And so I went away with my wife for a staycation this weekend. I met up with a few friends and we hung out by the pool. And I got a little sun. It's kind of nice. I like it. Just like that warm glow. I'm all happy. You said how I was doing. I'm like, I'm feeling good. All right. ADD kicks in. Just want you to know that. And don't make fun of this. Don't make fun of this. This is like, dude, podcaster through and through. It's even on my license plate. So
is that right? No way.
I'm wearing these headphones all the time. Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. So, all right. So when I was about 4 years old, I saw Gary Owens on Laugh-In, and he said, live from downtown Burbank. And I was just like precocious little kid. And I didn't know what I was talking about, but I stood in front of the TV in front of my family, which they all thought I was nuts anyways, because I pretty much was, because I was me. And I said, I want to talk on TV. And I know, right?
Wow.
So when I was like 6 or 7 years old, back in the day, they had these thing called audio cassette players. And I used to record songs from the radio and I'd play DJ.
At
and then
6
when I
or
got
7.
a little bit older, yeah, I've wanted to be in radio. I didn't know what it was. And I used to do my own commercials. It's amazing how, I will say one thing. No one told me I couldn't do it. And on the other hand, they just looked at me because I was an interesting kid. My grandma nicknamed me Mr. Action when I was like 5 years old because I got a lot of energy. Like, you're Mr. Action. And so from there, I just started playing radio and I started to take action steps. And, one of the things I'm thinking back here, Mr. Emotional here, I don't think people were super supportive of what I was doing. Plus I was a kid. So I didn't think I was going to do that as a job, but I wanted as a job. And I like to do the impossible. And if someone tells me I can't do something, I'm going to figure out a way to do it. Like, that's just the way that I am. And so fast forward, in 6th grade, I was the MC for the Roadrunner of the Week award. I got up in front of the class, in front of the whole school. I was like, and now the Roadrunner of the Week is, and I just was always that way and enthralled about media. And it's interesting because I'm thinking back, I don't know how I'm like reverting back to my childhood, but I'm thinking back and I loved the voices that I heard I was so aware of every voice. The film strip. And back when I was in school, it was a film strip and an audio cassette. They didn't match because I'm old. And I always thought of the voice. And it's amazing how I stayed in my lane. And when I got out of my lane and what I wasn't supposed to do, all the different ventures that I did, life was hard. But when I was in my lane and doing what I'm supposed to do, it just flows so beautifully. And I believe that anyone can have their happily ever after when they pay attention to what's on around them. The universe gives you great insight and sometimes not so gentle ways to let you know if you're on track or off track, like a little nudge, like a little tap on the shoulder. Hey, Noble, yeah, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. And then it becomes a punch in the arm. And then it becomes like a 2x4 to your face. Like, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. And one of those things could be, you really should spend more time with your family. So what happens is, universe, you don't pay attention, you're working, and you get knocked out. Whether in my case, it was a blood clot or people getting really, really sick. And they had no time for their family, except now, guess what? They have lots of time for their family and they're suffering. So, the emotional intelligence is really paying attention to the forces around you. And there's so many clues of how you should live your life. And a lot of people like to fight that. And I'll
Okay.
tell you, yeah,
Okay. So you brought up a ton of great points already that I want to jump in a little bit further. Let's work backwards. Okay. Based on that comment that you just said, that that life gives us clues,
absolutely.
and I, for me, I've got a faith background, so I agree that, I believe God gives us clues, the universe, life, and so how, okay, but okay, I call it the big hammer principle. So what I've noticed in some of my friends' lives, the more the more teachable we are, the smaller the hammer God has to use to get our
Absolutely.
attention. The less teachable we
Absolutely.
are, the bigger the
Big
hammer that God
hammer.
has to use, right?
Big
So,
hammer.
so my question to you is, how did you develop, or how does one develop their awareness to pay attention to what life or God is trying to teach us?
I know, but think for a moment of what it feels like to be happy. Just what does that feel like? It feels really good, right? That's one of the biggest roadblocks that people have. They don't deserve that they get to be happy. They've been told their whole life that life is hard. Life is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple and it doesn't have to be hard. Look, I- I'm a, I was molested when I was a teenager, young teenager. I moved out of the house when I was a teenager. I was emotionally abused. I had a violent stepfather who used to beat me on a regular basis. I had another stepfather who he was a psychiatric social worker and he used to just mess with my brain. Whoa. So I wanted to be happy and I moved out. I was 14 or 15 years old. And I thankfully got to move in with my incredible sister. And I moved into an environment where she was suffering through an alcoholic husband. But I was there and I loved being there. And my sister Anita taught me so much, like so much. I got mad at her when she was teaching me, but she told me how important it was to take care of your finances, how to be an adult. She taught me that. And I'll never forget that. But the one thing that I've always strived to be, I think people settle in their life, is I deserve to be happy. And those watching deserve to be happy. A lot of people are in crazy relationships, crazy work, and they think that's their life. And when one door closes, another door opens. And unfortunately, another door doesn't open until that other door closes.
That's great. So and you said something too before we started recording, that it even seems like you did, even as a child, even in spite of some really rough things that you experienced, and that was taking ownership. Like you pursued this initial passion when you were 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. Hey, I want to practice doing commercials, and man, I love these voices.
Yeah.
And it turned into sixth grade. You're the MC at the road run of the week deal, and then okay, you're going through some
Such a
tough.
great memory. I love that. Yeah.
Right.
And I went through high school. So and I was always about asking. So I think that's so important, is to ask. If you don't ask, you don't get. And I just was like really too dumb to know that I could fail. I just didn't know I could. And I just went through the motions. I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it. But when I was in junior high, I said, "Hey, can I make the announcement over the school?" We had like 2,500 kids there. And I went in and I made the announcement. Attention, Syracuse, Sarah High School Q, we were the conquistadors. And, today, you know, Noble EQ Gangster is going to be at lunch. Make sure it's Taco Tuesday. And I just did these stupid announcements. Buy your homecoming tickets. And then I got into the media center and I started doing media. I got into the news channel and I started being a reporter. And then I became an anchor. Even the point of, and it's all about asking. I was 16 years old. I was working at a grocery store. There's this woman named Vicky. Oh, I loved Vicky. She was so beautiful, just such an incredible person. She was a checker, and we became friends. And I found out she was a weekend DJ at a radio station in San Diego. And I told her, I said, I want to be in radio. She goes, come up and visit me. What? 16 years old, driving up to Carlsbad at KKOS. And I'm sitting there and she's talking on the radio and I'm in the station. I'm watching it like right here in front of me. So I'm like, that's me. That's me. And then she set me up in the production booth and I played radio and she taught me some things there. And I had these angels, like she was one. My teacher in high school or junior high, you know, I had a tumultuous relationship with my family at that time when I was in high school. And they let me stay late. Like seriously, they let me stay late. And I got to play in the studio with sound effects and create audio. It was amazing. So if you look at life, there's these little angels that just kind of help you, but you have to pay attention. You have to pay attention and know that you deserve to be happy.
Okay. Love that. Love it. Absolutely love it. How did your childhood and you know, pleasant and unpleasant, shape you emotionally?
I'm tough. And I also know that my life is my life because of my life. So all the good in my life is because of me. And all the bad in my life is because of me. Because I take full responsibility for everything that's going on in my life. Because I made the decisions to go left, to go right, to go center. Oh, I should be going to the left, but you know what? I'm going to go to the right. What's the consequence? That's the consequence, and get back on track. If you get that you're ultimately responsible for everything in your life, you're not to blame, but you're responsible. Your life is so simple because if you don't like your life the way it is today, you can decide I'm changing my life today because I want that happily ever after that I deserve. And when you follow the cues of people that are in your life and you know the right people that should be in your life and you know the wrong people that should be in your life and you live for you and not for everybody else, and you just be the best Noble that you can be or the best Rob you can be, your life unfolds in the most beautiful way.
Love it. And one of the other things that you had said when you were interviewing me last week was, because this is kind of a big theme or principle that you espouse, is decide, plan, and act. Absolutely. Decide, plan, and act. So, and it sounds like that is how you have lived your life. Again, even in your childhood.
How crazy is that?
Right before you even came up with decide, plan, act.
Yeah. So decide, plan, act sounds really simple, right? Decide, plan, act. Easy peasy. However, most people get stuck in the planning stage. Imagine it's a jet on a runway that never takes off. And 99% of the time, it's not lack of knowledge, lack of information, or lack of resources. It's based on fear. And it can be anything. Fear of looking bad in front of your spouse and family. Fear of unworthiness. And the one that I see the most, the people I work with, blows my mind. Fear of success. They don't feel worthy of being successful.
That was me. Yeah.
Because they don't want to raise their vibration and outgrow their friends.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. No, that was totally me. Totally 100%. And it wasn't until I got emotionally healthier, and I'm not going to say emotionally healthy because I'm working on it still, right? It's for me, it's an ongoing journey,
ongoing process. Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so the healthier I got emotionally and even spiritually for me, there's a cheesy, I'm a cheesy quotes guy. And there's this cheesy quote, man, that throat punched me a couple years ago reading this book.
Okay. Can I stop you for a minute?
No,
can
please.
I stop you for a second? Okay.
Yeah.
Language and the words that come out of your mouth are so important. And words have energy. So when you say, because I'm hearing if the power of you saying, and thank you for allowing me just to stop and do this with you.
Yeah,
When you
please. Yeah,
say,
of course.
so I'm an inspirational, motivational quote guy. I love quotes that impact people's lives, including my own. How different is that? I'm saying I do these crazy, cheesy quotes. You've already discounted how amazing these quotes are. And it's so amazing. Language has a consequence. So you need to pay attention to the words that you use. There's energy behind every word, and you can feel what that is with words. And if you have those words in your vocabulary and your life's not the way it wants to be, you might want to look at the vocabulary words that you use in your life, because that is a big reflection on the success and abundance in your life by the words that come out of your mouth.
Love
it has
it.
an impact.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No, I love it. Love it.
So take two, start again. So tell me about these quotes.
That's right. Here's another inspirational, powerful quote based on what you just said. Change your words, you change your life.
Okay, but how does that feel? Doesn't that feel different?
Oh, for sure.
You can feel
absolutely.
it physiological. And
yes.
I hear people, and I'm being bold right now with a lot of people in my life. I'm like, stop.
Love it.
Please don't dismiss what you're doing. Like, I have a friend who's going to have a multi-million-dollar idea, and they have the resources to do it and turn into something. He goes, yeah, so I get this really dumb, crazy, idiotic idea for a new business. And I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel right now? How close are you to success? He goes, probably like a 5. I said, I want you to do this again. And I want you to put your hand in your heart. I want you to feel this. I want you to say this. Rob, I have been blessed with the most incredible idea that's going to transform the world. And I know that I'm the one to bring it to market. And I'm going to change so many lives. I wake up every day so lit up for this idea. And I want to share it with you. And out of his mouth, he goes, whoa. It makes a big difference.
Love it.
And
No, absolutely.
I talk a lot, and I just want everybody to have a happily ever after. I want them to have an extraordinary life. And so I'm rigorous in the people that are in my life. And I want them to raise their vibration, to have that happily ever after. And I want them to decide, plan, and I want to do anything I can to motivate and inspire them and transform them to get to the point where they don't let fear stop them. And they get into massive inspired action, because with the law of action, it creates momentum in your life. When you decide, you plan, you act. It's like pedaling a bicycle, with no gears, even straight. It's hard. Pedal, 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 pedal. And you get that momentum. The most successful people that I know, they make decisions quick. They decide, they plan, they act. And they get the momentum in their life. And the best part about living a life of inspired action, you can make a mistake. It's okay. You can adjust and you can pivot. The key is to take massive action and get those pedals moving. Don't just sit there. Don't be a jet that's on a runway driving and driving and driving and driving and driving and driving and driving. Eventually you will get there. If you're in Dallas and you're going to New York and you never take that plane off the ground, you will eventually get to New York. However, if you're driving in a jet airliner from Dallas to New York, there's a possibility you're going to get a flat tire, you're going to run out of gas, or you're going to have an engine failure. And that's the way it is for life. At any moment, your life can change. Happened to me. I had a blood clot and I almost died. And I'm so grateful to be alive. I've started to say this, and I don't know how it came out, and I love it. Imagine for a moment, you're sitting in a chair. So you get a note. I like stories. So you're doing your life and you get a note, and all it says is, be at this address at 9:30 a.m. Monday morning. You walk in, And there's a sign on the door says sit in chair. And then a video screen comes on. You look at it. It says, hello, Noble. You have 60 minutes to live. Choose wisely. Choose wisely. All those things that you thought were so important, it's amazing how the real important stuff shows up. You felt that, didn't you?
Absolutely, for sure. No, this tattoo actually, this one right here, intentional, is as a result of, so it wasn't me who almost died, but my daughter almost died when she was 2 years old. And we took her in. She had 104 temperature, had a cough when she was 2. Go to my buddy who's a urgent care guy, doc, and he's like, dude, take her to the ER immediately. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. And I'm like, dude, what's the big deal? She's got a temperature. No, bro, take her to the ER immediately. So I'm like, okay. So we go to the ER. And I said, hey, man, my daughter, go in there to see the nurse, and they get her an x-ray, and we're waiting on the results. And she's like, I'm like, hey, just, she just needs some medication to bring her temperature down, and then just send us on our way. We'll be fine. And she gets the x-ray back, and she's like, I'm not sure, because she's got this look on her face. And I'm like, I read nonverbals and body language and people and stuff. I'm like, what's up? Like, what's the big deal? And she's like, I'm not sure how you're going to leave the hospital. And I'm like, okay, that was weird. What does that even mean? And she's like, I don't know if you're going to leave with your daughter or without your daughter. And dude, at that moment, you want to talk about, defining moments in life, the world stopped spinning for me. Everything melted away, and there was one thing that mattered. Right. And so those experiences, I agree with you. I love how the perspective, those experiences, your blood clot, my daughter almost dying when she was 2, those life altering moments, I believe can be gifts if we allow them to be. Another awesome quote: if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. And rather than, because I've done this too, I've looked at them the wrong way too. I've had, life altering experiences. Oh, woe was me. The world sucks. Got jaded and bitter and all this kind of stuff. And oftentimes I have to repeat that lesson. God will take me back through that lesson until I learn that particular lesson. So if we look at every experience, positive, negative, pleasant, unpleasant, with a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset, and learn what can, in fact, I talk about this in my podcast all the time. What can we learn? What can I learn in this valley? What am I supposed to learn? How can I grow through this valley rather than let it become my identity or get jaded and negative? Like you were saying, how did your blood clot change you? How did it impact you?
Well, first of all, I hope your daughter's okay now. Great. Second of all, thank you for sharing that awesome quote. Lands differently, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's so powerful. Language. And so June 8th, 2013, my 14-year-old daughter was fine. And then a few hours later, she was on her way to brain surgery. She suffered a stroke and then went into a coma. And they told us, this is really bad. She has about a 4% chance of survival. We will do everything we can to save her life. We can't do anything at all about her mental capacity. Your daughter will be far different tomorrow if she survives. And we will do everything we can. You need to prepare for the worst. Yeah, choose wisely. All that important stuff stopped. We were there. I didn't leave the hospital for 7 days. And it's kind of funny. I went and talked to the nurse and I said, there's like a really bad smell in this room. I don't know. I smell it everywhere. This like floor stinks. It was me. I didn't go home for 7 days. And I went home and I took a shower and I apologized. I'm like, I'm so sorry I smelled like that. Oh my God. There was nothing more important. Nothing.
That's right. That's right.
And at any moment, your life can change. And it happened to the world. People, all those people that thought, oh, my life is great, everything's gonna be fine. Okay, so the universe, God, looked down upon the earth and said, you might want to rethink things. Boom, worldwide pandemic stopped everybody in their tracks. And there are so many people that are thriving right now, and so many people that are not thriving right now. And a lot of it can be circumstance. And my heart goes out to so many people that are suffering. And a lot of people have decided they want to just wallow in their own bleh and not do anything over this time. A lot of people talked about this being a great reset. You know, the way that I survived this, and I did it right when it first came out, I was really stressed. I'm an extrovert. I love people, big hugger, equal opportunity hugger. If you're a human and I ask permission, I would love to share a hug with you. And the one thing that was taken from me was that human connection. And it's had an impact on me. I think of all the people that I haven't hugged. I go to all these big events with thousands of people there and my dear friends for a life that are there. Those events aren't happening anymore. Maybe they will in 2022. But I go to an event, I maybe hug 100 or 200 people. Even when I'm just driving around and hanging out in my community, I hugged a lot of people. And I became so afraid. Got to wear masks. You know, and I live in Arizona, so the masks aren't a big thing here. So we get to see people's faces and their smiles. And that's the one thing when the masks kind of started going off of the employees in Arizona. People that I love that were there, and we were there to support them during this pandemic so they could survive in the small businesses. And I told them, I said, I can hardly wait for the day. We don't have our mask on, but I can hardly wait for the day when you get to remove your masks and I get to see your smiling face.
Man, Rob, so dude, you and I'm telling you, like are separated at birth, bro. I
Yeah.
have episode 141 on my podcast is the power of hugs from a second generation hugger. So, dude, to say that I can relate, and here's the story behind the hugging. So, obviously, and there's a truckload of research about the importance and healthiness, whatever, around just physical connection. And I'm not talking, even sexual, or I'm just talking just physical touch with people, right?
Human connection. Oh yeah, I'm going to take you down a path. You're like, oh man, here we go. Go ahead, and then I'm going to take you.
No, good, absolutely.
Ready.
So
get ready.
What
Okay.
I can't wait, bro. So two stories about hugs. So when I was a kid, I was in junior high, 11 years old, and my dad was an ER doctor for his whole life. He died 11 years ago, but he was an ER doctor for 30 some years, and he took me to, bring your son to work day or whatever. So he brought me to work with him. And this is obviously way back in the days before HIPAA or, and all the different laws and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, he takes me to work with him, and he was this big giant guy, 6'3", almost 6'4", 285 pounds, this big giant teddy bear. And folks coming to the ER, obviously not, singing, positive, happy songs, right? They're stress and all this kind of stuff, freaking out, whatever's going on, right? So my dad would see folks come to the ER. He's again this big imposing figure. He has the white coat on. He's got the stethoscope on. This big giant guy comes at him, and the people that are freaking out, he hugs them. And he is so big, he like engulfs them in this big, warm, and I'm 11 years old. I'm like, number one, Dad, are you supposed to be doing this? Like, right. Someone's about to punch you in your face, man. You're like, this is not, this. So I'm like, okay, let me see how this is going to work out. And every single time, patient after patient after patient, when they would come in freaking out, crying, screaming, whatever, he'd come in, give them a hug, and I could physically watch them completely calm down. When he embraced them, they physically, physiologically almost melted in his arms. And then now they're calm. He takes them to the whatever the room is that they're supposed to go get checked out in. And he says, okay, so how can I help you? Where does it hurt? But now they're calm, they're not freaking out anymore. And I was like, wow, that's crazy talk. Second story. So I got to see the power of hugs in action. He did this not just in the ER, but friends would come over to the house, whatever. The second, so I'm like, okay, let me, I want to learn this deal, right? So one of the things I do is, and it's funny with people that know me that listen to this, I heard a lot. I've done a lot of podcast episodes on this and videos on this. My family, my friends, they call it that I've got a signature hug, because my hug lasts a couple seconds longer into the realm of the awkward. The reason that I do it is I pray for people. Everyone that I hug, I pray for people. And what happened, so this is what I do. I've been doing this for years and years and years, decades. Well, we go speaking. We have this speaking engagement in Australia, Melbourne, Sydney, and Perth. And we were in Perth at this big, speaking to 2,000 or 3,000 people, and maybe it's 1,000 to 2,000, maybe it's like 1,500 people.
And I'm
And
say 1,500, just split it. I love it.
yeah, yeah. I don't want to be exaggerating here. So
it's 1,728 people, because I want to be on track here and don't want to give any wrong information.
That's right. And so, and dude, the craziest thing happened. So, my hugs preceded us showing up, right? So people start here because we started in Sydney, then went to Perth, and then came back and did Melbourne. So the folks in Sydney let the folks in Perth know this dude gives gangster hugs. And so, now I didn't know this was, I didn't know this, but we get done speaking, and we're coming off the stage. My wife goes and goes, and sits down, whatever. Well, I come off the stage, and anyone that's in front of me, that's anywhere in my range, right, gets a hug, right? That's just how I roll. Again, very similar to you, right? So I do my hug, and again, it's a little bit, couple seconds extra, not like crazy awkward, but it's a little bit awkward if you're not used to it, right? And dude, I'm all in that moment. I am all in when I hug somebody, right? I am totally mentally, emotionally, physically present with this other person, sharing the space with them. And dude, I'm 2 or 3 hugs deep, bro. I look up, there are 75 people in line to get a hug. Wow. And 90% of them are young men. And person after person, man, woman, they said, Noble, dude, we have never had an appropriate physical touch from another man before. And, of course, so to be able to give somebody the gift of human connection, of that moment, that safe space for that moment, man, is a powerful experience. So those are my 2 stories of the power of hugs. And I've even had somebody tell me, dude, this is so funny too, Noble, you need to start a hug ministry. So
I love it.
Anyway, those are my 2 hug stories, bro. I'm with you 100%.
So we definitely are same parallel path. I'm known as a really, really good hugger. I was doing a big event. I was speaking, and I got off stage, and I was meeting a few people. Some people had recognized me from being the voice of the Miracle Morning and narrating Hal Elrod's book. And so they were like super excited. They go, oh my God, I listen to you every day. And I felt the connection. I go, man, I give you a hug. And they're like, oh my God, this is so great. And it was amazing because people were going out in the audience like, oh my God, you got to hug Rob. You got to hug Rob. And I was very present with the people that I was with. And then all of a sudden I was surrounded, and it was beautiful. We did a group hug, and it was wonderful. But what I wanted to mention about in my book, and I find this really fascinating. There's some incredible stories in my book. Story of my daughter almost dying. Story of me almost dying. Action steps on how to have an extraordinary life. And there's one thing in the book that people get all riled up about, and it kind of blows my mind. And I talk about how important it is for human touch and connection and hugs. And then I talk about this thing that I discovered after I got divorced, and it's called a cuddle party. It's a non-sexual event. It's where you go, you have a welcome circle. This is before COVID, they did this. You have a welcome circle. There might be 20 or 30 people there. There's some icebreakers to get to know some people, talk about boundaries. And then you get to go and hug and cuddle and be connected with other human beings. And the most amazing part about that, if you're hugging someone or cuddling with someone, or you're even a puppy pile with like 10 or 12 people just all wrapped around each other, just laying there and feeling each other's energy, it creates chemicals in your brain. I believe it's serotonin that you get really high. And afterwards, you have to eat some chocolate, or you have to take your shoes off and like connect to Mother Earth and the grass, because otherwise you're like, whoa. I remember I was driving a friend home. They're like, you do know you're driving like 30 miles an hour on the freeway, right? I go, oh. And I had to speed up. I had to get, because it felt so good and so pure. And that's the cool thing about it is, I was there and this guy's like, dude, can I rub your head? And I'm like, yeah, it's a non-sexual environment. So there doesn't have to be like, oh, it's a guy, he can't touch me. If you can hug a woman, you have permission. You hug a man, you have permission. It's all based on consent and boundaries. And one of the things that I think it teaches people is boundaries. Like, I don't ever walk up to anybody that I don't know and do this. Can I hug you? Because you've already done that. My hands are down and I say, may I share a hug? May I give you a hug? And if they say no, thank you for taking care of yourself. It doesn't mean anything. And that's the importance of connecting with people and touch. It's so important to get permission to do that. And when you get the permission, like if you ever hug me, you'll find out, Noble, because we will hug. I'm looking forward to that. You'll never feel this on your back. Okay, I'm done. We're done. Yeah, I don't do the tap. But human touch is so important. And I had a lot of my divorce friends or going through divorce or just in really emotionally unstable relationships. And it's interesting because it was a non-sexual event. So if you're married and you're in this event and you're connecting on a human basis with other people in a non-sexual event, that's within the bounds of your relationship. And what it did for a lot of people, they're like, oh my God, I am worthy. People love me because they had a spouse that did not see their greatness and their excellence. And human touch is so important. With your life being that anything can happen at any moment and change in a dime. If you're in my life, I give great hellos and I give great goodbyes. Great hellos and great goodbyes. Because you never know. I've had this happen. See you Monday. Bye. See you later, dude. And they're not there on Monday. That's why you have to live every single solitary day like you want to be alive in momentum, taking massive inspired actions so you can have that happily ever after that you so deserve.
Love it. Love it. So that is dude, that is so fascinating, that cuddle party. The funny thing is, so check out the funny thing. The funny thing is in Australia, they call hugs cuddles.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't realize that. They're like, Noble, man, you give the best cuddles. And I'm like, okay.
You're like, where was I? Hey, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's funny. It's funny. So apparently I'm a really good cuddler. I'm a really good hugger. And so there's a thing called a professional cuddler. They charge like $100 an hour.
You're joking me.
And you pay no.
This is a
And
joke.
you just hold it. Not at all.
You are joking me.
No.
I missed my life calling, man.
I know. Well, the pandemic came, so I was actually strongly considering going to be a professional hugger. I mean, there's certification, and I know a lot of the boundaries and stuff like that. And it's amazing. There are people that are just, their life changes by just being held. It's a non-sexual environment and just that human connection. See, that's a challenge for most people. When they hug someone or they get affection from someone, they make that mean sex. And it's not. My family's not super affectionate. I hug everybody. Always have.
Yeah.
I just love people.
Yeah. I'm the same, bro.
Love them. I know.
Yes.
When I saw you, I'm like, yes. Okay. So I just want to tell you the presence that Noble exudes. I didn't know him from Adam. I didn't even know his platform. And we were on this press junket where he was trying to get on my podcast. I have 2 podcasts, the Living the Law of Action show and Life Transformation Radio. And he's in there ready to do his pitch. And before he even started, he started his pitch and I just go, yes, you're on both shows. I don't even care what you're talking about. Yeah, you're on the show. You and I are instant friends and you're on the show. You're like, well, I got my thing to say. Yeah, no.
That's right. That's same. Obviously, same. Instant connection, instant chemistry. Yes, 100%. Oh man, wow, Rob, what a blessing, man! What a blessing. That our paths cross, and I'm excited to see where the future takes both of us. You know what I mean? In our different
Absolutely.
journeys and stuff. Okay, couple questions here. How and when? Because I think this is really important in people's emotional fitness journey, in their growth and development. Because for me, I'm just gonna. This may be anecdotal, but because obviously you've been sharing your message of Decide, Plan, Act for many years. For me, so I have, people could argue, no, but you've been a Decide, Plan, Actor too. However, I have been one of those people that has had. I've got I have had a PhD in self-sabotage, self-hatred, self-condemnation, insecurity. And so my Decide, Plan, Act was very, very limited because of all this emotional stuff that I had carrying around with me that I was completely unaware of. So, and it wasn't until I took ownership of my own emotional fitness at the time, being very, very emotionally overweight, just using the fitness analogy.
Right.
And once I said, oh man, went to counseling, and my counselor introduced me to the 2 revolutionary new concepts called feelings and emotions. I say it all the time. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? So he started me on this journey of growing my emotional awareness, emotional fitness, emotional management. It was life-changing and increased my, changed my relationship with God, with my wife, with my child, it's changed everything. How and when did you make the decision to take ownership of your life?
I think I was a little boy. I just did what I wanted to do. And my parents got divorced when I was 5. I didn't have a great relationship with my brothers and sisters. They were older than me, and I love them to death. And, I was a little baby, and there was, animosity towards that. I just went to the beat of my own drum. Like, I was different in my family. They're on their path and I'm on my path. My mom's still 93 years old. She's like, I don't know how you make money. I just don't understand how you do it. I don't understand. I haven't had a real job for decades, 30 years. I've been on my own, voice actor. When I left radio, I haven't had a job since. So, yeah.
Wow.
I believe that it's me.
That's awesome.
Since I was a kid.
And again, what a blessing.
And I had angels. It's not just me.
Sure. Right.
I had angels that just kind of gave me some direction. And I've listened to the messages. Success
Right.
leaves clues. And there's
Right.
big flashing neon signs, just like the EQ Mafia, the EQ gang behind you. If you go
Yes.
through, you only get one life, and people are moving so fast, they're not paying attention to what's going on in the world. There's neon signs, there's TV screens all around you that say, hey, Rob, go left, go right, come this way. You are enough. You are worthy. And everybody is so out there and not present to what's in here. They miss everything. One of my most favorite things is mindfulness, gratitude, mindfulness, kindness, meditation, all those things.
Love it.
But being mindful is so powerful. Like I went out a couple weeks ago with some friends, and this guy is so stressed. I have never seen a grown adult eat so unintentionally and so fast. And we were at a good restaurant having an incredible filet. And he ate that piece of meat. I don't even think he paid attention that he was cutting that meat and putting it in his mouth. I go, how was your steak? He goes, it was good. So I said, can we try something here? Yeah. Crazy thing you're doing now. I said, I don't think you tasted the steak. No, it was good. Dude, that's a $48 filet. Like that was made with love. A butcher put his heart and soul into that USD prime choice filet. It was cooked to perfection. It was medium rare. I saw that piece of meat. Its family member was on my plate. I said, I want you to do me a favor. Everybody's like, oh, Rob's doing his thing again. I said, I want you to sit there with your eyes closed. And I just want you to be present to being here with your good friends. And I want you to hear the environment around you of the people talking that are all loving on each other and sharing their joys of the day. And I want you to think for a moment how blessed you are to be able to buy a $46 filet and sides. And I want you to breathe, and I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to open your mouth. And I fed him a little piece of my filet. And I said, I'm going to put a piece of steak in your mouth. Before I do that, I want you to feel the fork growing across your lips. I want you to smell that piece of steak. When it gets in your mouth, I don't want you to speed race it and swallow it. I promise you, no one's going to take it away from you. He put it in his mouth, and I want you to chew it slowly. I want you to savor every moment of that bite. I don't want you to think about the next bite. I'm going to have a gratin potatoes next. I'm going to have a sip of beer. Nothing. And he did it. You know what his response was? There is no freaking way. That's the same piece of steak that I have. I don't know why you got the good steak. I said, because you weren't present with that. You were racing through life. Here you are with good friends. We're sharing a meal together. Look around everybody's plate. This is not about manners. This is about enjoying the moment. Because at any moment, this moment might never, ever be able to be created again. This moment is this moment. This moment is what's happening now. Ignore everything that's going on around you, all the nonsense in government, all the pandemic, all the crazy that's going on, and all the plates that are spinning out of control in the world. All we have is this moment. Rob, Noble, and your viewers and listeners, be present in the moment. If you're depressed, you're living in the past. You're reliving the past. It's already happened. I think to myself, if I'm stuck in the past and I'm not a victim of my past, I wouldn't get up out of bed in the morning. I've had near-death experiences. I've had a crazy life, but I thrive and survive, and I'm not a victim. So if you're living in the past, that's depression. If you feel you have anxiety and you're uneasy all the time, you're stressed and upset about the future, about all the stuff that's never happened before. Nothing matters except right now. Nothing. Because all we have is right now. And at any moment, we might not have right now. So it's really important to be mindful and be very present and breathe. I don't know why it's so hard for people to just enjoy a breath. Like when I'm stressed, whatever, technical thing, I'm on a podcast, I'll sit back in this chair, my Ferrari chair, as you call it, and I'll just sit like this and I'll just go. And then I bring in some gratitude. I'm grateful. Oh, I don't know. To be alive, to have a heartbeat. I'll just go down the line. And then all this stuff is a morass of BS that doesn't mean a whole lot. So we had technical issues. Life happens. And maybe I wasn't supposed to be on that podcast. Maybe I was supposed to just say, I can't make this work. And then I was able to route my attention to something more important. And that's how I live my life. And I invite other people to try that on for size. Makes for a great life.
Rob, man, so super powerful. Oh man, that was an amazing way to wrap up this episode, and super stoked. We got to do, another episode down the road here. So such a powerful, I love that exercise, that mindfulness exercise that you did with your buddy. And that, that you had the boldness to do it right now in the moment. Because I think those near-death experiences give a perspective to people that most people don't have. Absolutely. Unless they've been in a similar situation. And so you understand the power of the present and the moment, and what's important and what's not important. And so anyway, that was such a powerful exercise.
And there's so much stuff that's not important. Oh my God.
Oh my, yes. I would say, because I do corporate coaching for emotionally intelligent leadership, and I ask people, because again, most people are showing up stressed and that overwhelmed. And so I ask them, okay, give me a list. Let's do a list right now of all the things right now that are causing you stress. I want all of it. Right. We do a list. Maybe it's 3 things, maybe it's 10 things, maybe it's 15 things. Okay, now let's do a percentage. Put a percentage next to each one. What percentage is each one of those things causing you, right? Oh man, this is probably 75%. You and me
are so alike.
Is that right?
It's so funny. Oh my God, it's so funny. And
right.
But the most thing that I find, so that's what I do with my clients. I love that 99% of the stuff that's on the list, it's never even happened yet. And they're so stressed out about it.
That's right.
I don't know my daughter. I don't know if my daughter's going to get into college. Well, she's 5.
Right.
5.
That's right. Right. That's right. Oh my gosh, dude. Yes.
I don't know if my wife is going to be with me forever. You've been married 2 years. What?
Let's control what you can control, right? Actions,
exactly.
Attitude, and gratitude, man. Actions, attitude, and gratitude. And then also I like to ask, when I do have to do that list, is, okay, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, how many of those things that you just wrote down are you going to care about still in 5 years, 10 years from now?
We have the same list. I love it.
That's awesome. Okay.
I told you. Yes. And yes.
That's right. That's right. So Rob,
I loved it. Okay, you know what's so funny? I love the faces of the people that were in the room on Zoom when they have worked so hard to pitch, and I'm just like, they already pitched, and I'm like, it's not a fit, And then you didn't even say anything. I'm like, yes, you're on, and you're on both shows. I love you. You're great. And they're like. And did you hear that one lady? She goes, is he allowed to do that? Yeah, he's allowed to do that.
That's right.
It's the Living the Law of Action show with Rob Actis. It's life transformation with Rob Actis. So yeah, I am Rob Actis. So I can do it.
Boom. I love it.
Boom.
Okay. How do we follow you? How do we find you?
You can get on the gram at robactis.com. So on Instagram, if you want to enjoy the Miracle Morning audio format, go to Audible, type in Rob Actis, and 33 books will appear, including The Miracle Morning and my book, The Law of Action. You can check me out at robactis.com. I'm pretty easy to find. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much,
And
Rob.
my podcast too, right? Living the Law of Action show and Life Transformation Radio. And I am excited to say I'm super pumped. You know, we're going to change the face of podcasting. I am the host and content producer of Pedopolo Unplugged Weekly Hot 10, which is going to be a countdown show that's I'm going to curate. Oh my, I'm so excited with this team at Pedopolo. The podcasts that you didn't know, that you should know. And I'm super excited to do that. We're going to have that out very, very soon. You'll find it everywhere, but I would recommend getting on Pedopolo.
Boom. And I will include all that stuff in the show notes as well for those of y'all that are watching on YouTube or listening on our podcast. Thank you so much, Rob, for your time. So excited for this episode to drop and all the lives that you're going to add value to. Thank you for all that you do, for all the people you impact, your life, how you live it, and how you're bringing your gifts, skills, talents to the world to make the world a better place.